Token to Rock here with another stream. It is Tuesday, October 25th, 9:31 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you're watching us live, overall crypto market cap sitting at $940 billion. Gotta share the screen for you. Sorry about that. There we go. Bitcoin sitting at 39.7% dominance, ETH sitting at 18.0% dominance, Bitcoin sitting at 19,500, while ETH sitting at 1381. Again, these prices haven't changed a whole lot here in the past 24 hours. Cardano at 36, almost 37 cents. Solana just under $29. Matic at 90 cents. Matic has been popping off as of late. Pretty bullish on Matic long term. In the short term, I'm not so bullish. I think Bitcoin is going to come down here. Looking at the Dow Jones, we are up just under or just over 0.6% for the day. Something to pay attention to would be why is this not? Hold on. So let me. There we go. Sorry. Something to pay attention to is we did bounce not too long ago. If we go to year to date, this is kind of when Bitcoin went to like 17,500, 17,300, I believe, something like that. And since then, it did rally all the way up until about mid-August. And then the Dow Jones came down and crashed roughly. It bottomed out thus far, a bear market rally on September 30th. And since then, we've kind of been on the up, minus that brief period over Columbus Day weekend. And then another thing to point out is if we compare it back to roughly last year, the market was kind of topping out roughly this time last year. So could this be the end of the rally? We will find out here shortly. Is Bitcoin going to build off this support line, or is it going to get rejected right here? Resistance right around 19.6, 19.7, 19.8. Again, time will tell. Here in the short term, since the beginning of the day, the bulls have had, for the most part, control over the price action. Again, we are facing some heavy resistance. Pardon the train outside. We are facing resistance right at 19.5 roughly and upwards. Will the bulls clear it? Again, time will tell. Things are just not looking too good for Bitcoin. We will talk about more of these price targets to be paying attention to here in the short term because it doesn't look very pretty for Bitcoin. We're forming more or less this descending triangle, and if it breaks, it's probably going to break to the downside, and that means Bitcoin's going to dump at least probably $2,000 to $5,000, realistically speaking. No time interval. I'm not giving you a date to look for or anything like that, but would not be good for altcoins. Altcoins may not come back. So dollars doing a bit better than where it started earlier today. Not a whole lot, but if this trends higher, we could see Bitcoin go to the downside a bit further. But if this bleeds, we could probably see not only Bitcoin rally, but the stock market rally. So got to pay attention to those indicators. taking a look over on Twitter for some news. Fun fact, Bitcoin's hash rate has risen 181% since the bottom of the China mining ban crash back in 2021. Pretty big stuff. Cash App has integrated the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Very, very cool. Very, very bullish. As more and more people get accustomed to using the Lightning Network, they may altogether just stop using stuff like what's called like current, what is it, like Western Union or whatever, for remittance payments and stuff to your family members, across border payments, stuff like that. Because as we've discussed in many previous videos, fees can be anywhere between like 10 to upwards like 40% of the money that you're sending. It's pretty ridiculous. So um, poor people just get effed over and over. That's not good. We need to change that. Twitter is reportedly developing its own wallet with support for crypto deposits and withdrawals. Pretty cool stuff. It would be interesting to be able to pay someone that you like or whatever in Bitcoin, or maybe they give you a shout out, or maybe you just want to give a generous donation, for example, to content creator that you really like. Maybe you send them 0.0025 Bitcoin, a quarter of a hundredth of Bitcoin, so like 1/400th, more or less. I don't know, that'd be cool, but we'll see where that goes. Bitcoin outperformed all major asset classes in quarter three of 2022, except the US dollar index, the DXY. Um, that's come from Finbold. That's pretty crazy to think about, pretty crazy to grasp, because considering how many other assets are out on the market, for Bitcoin to just crush them, it's really crazy. Here we have Lady of Crypto saying there will be many 100 to 500x crypto projects next bull run, but not for a while. Your job at the moment is to preserve capital. Like I said yesterday, a $1 in a bear market could be $500 in a bull market. I'll share my list of 100 to 500x crypto, whatever. We're not really cared in seeing what her picks are, but it's true. Your money goes a lot further in the bear market. So personally, since I know Bitcoin will probably come down here at some point, I'm just going to keep stacking cash, and pay attention to when the Federal Reserve meets next, and buy around then if Bitcoin dumps, because Federal Reserve comes out and says that they're going to rate hike 100 basis points, or a full percentage point, it's not going to be good for the markets. Markets are going to bleed. Stock market's going to bleed. Crypto's going to bleed. So need to be wary of that. Market pretty much anticipates 75 basis points. I think we're going to see the market sell off a little bit here in the next few days going into the weekend. Reason why I say that is because, again, going off of what happened last year, the market kind of tippy topped right around this time of year, and then we had a pullback, and then we had a rally in stonks in December, but November was kind of, for the most part, a down month, and I think around the end we kind of came back. Let's just take a look at that. Yeah, see, it was a down month, and then literally the day and literally the last day of the market, or second to last, it rallied. So yeah, I don't know, just something to consider. I'm not saying it's gonna happen for sure, but um a lot of people, this is kind of making fun of people who are like, oh my god, the new UK prime minister is bullish on crypto. Here's what he's really bullish on. He's bullish on global CBDC adoption and more. I don't like this guy already, from what I've heard. Um, can look a little bit more into him. He's worth $720 million. Why do you think he's taking a job making $120,000 a year? Like, what gives? What incentive is there for him? Well, he's one of the richest people in Britain, former Goldman Sachs banker, World Economic Forum member, and central bank digital currency, aka social credit score salesman, is now the UK Prime Minister. Yikes. Not a good look for UK. Um, I think CBDCs are for sure a thing next year for people in the UK. And just to give you an idea, uh, countries colored in green have a pilot program already. So, we have Saudi Arabia, China, Russia. They already have pilot programs for CBDCs. Meanwhile, countries like Britain, um, the US, for example, some countries in Africa, some countries in China are looking into research. And then while you have countries like Canada, Brazil, Spain, France, Germany, Australia already with development. And then you have, I can't really tell which. Oh, it looks like Nigeria has a CBDC that's been launched. But yeah, it's more control from the government and stuff like that. Personally, I'm not a fan of that. That basically kind of pigeonholes most people from doing pretty much everything and anything the government wants. Because government at that point, since there's no cash or very little cash, they control what you can use that money for and such. It's pretty crazy. Brace yourself. The housing market is expecting a huge price dump. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen saying we could face financial stability risks. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Germany Economy Minister Habeck says we plan to connect the hydrogen pipeline between Spain and France with Germany. This is when, after taking all the European savings, dot dot dot. It's yeah. The question is, when is this going to take place? I do like the idea that they're trying to become more and more independent of Russian gas, but it's like, what's the timeline? Are we talking 5 years from now? This will be a thing. It's like by then, many Europeans will have starved to death. Many Europeans will freeze to death. It's not a good situation. Are you watching closely? Look at all these headlines since 2008. It's like, you know, is '08 a likely scenario for us where we see a huge crash in the stock market and such? When is it going to happen? Again, my guess is going to be after the midterms. I don't think it's going to happen before the midterms, but I could be wrong. I mean, midterms are, pardon the train again. Midterms are roughly like what, a week and a half away, something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. That's pretty crazy. Here we have Robert Reich saying since 1978, CEO pay has increased by 1,460%. Yes, you read that correctly. So don't tell me that corporations can't afford to pay workers higher wages and provide decent benefits. Patrick Bet David replies and says, I like your thoughts on three additional stats. Average NBA players' salary since 1978 has increased by 9,400%. Uh, college tuition has increased by 1,400% since 1978. Last but not least, you make 100K for an hour keynote. That's more than 99.9% of CEOs in America. Should we be concerned? Speaking of people who make crazy amounts of money for like a keynote, we have
You can run the best campaign.
you have Miss
You can even
Clinton
become the
and her
nominee.
husband, notorious
And
for
you can have
making
the
like
election
hundreds of
stolen.
thousands of dollars for giving speeches in like Russia, here in the United States, and such. It's pretty crazy, like how much money these politicians make from doing stuff like that. Like this guy, he's not a politician, but he's got some big money and he's kicking and screaming about this and that, but meanwhile he's making 100K from a 1 hour speech. Like, I'm not denying that he has a lot of valuable information, but like, does he deserve to make 100K for 1 hour? Like, that's way more than what a lot of people make in a year, if not like 2 to 3 years. So, putting these in perspective, I don't know. Reason why I also wanted to play this is because we just have one side. It's okay when they call out, the fraud in supposedly the 2016 election, how there's collusion between Trump and Russia. I'm not really a fan of Trump, but I just hate the hypocrisy, you guys. It's disgusting. And, look at this.
Illegitimate president in my mind.
Could you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree. Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost.
Yeah, I don't know. And then you have Kamala Harris now denying that she raised bail money for Antifa and BLM rioters, but she forgot to delete this. If you're able to chip in now to Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. Yikes. Not a good look, VP. Not a good look. And MSNBC kind of set themselves up without realizing it, but they asked a focus group on about what they thought about January 6th. I'll just play like a
Mastriano
minute
was
of it.
at
It's
the
kind of funny.
insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So, I mean,
They opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying
That's
for an
not the
elected
narrative they
official
want to hear.
if they
as long as he
participated in
didn't-
January
he
6th.
didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran.
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No,
The day,
That's
I think it was the
right.
day
That's
after
right.
the whole event had occurred, and he had a heart attack. So, again, they have a narrative that they're trying to spin. These people clearly know that narrative is wrong, and that's why they're calling it
not
out.
on site.
Caused by that. That's because
Right.
he shouldn't have been a police officer. It was one woman.
So
who
what
shot
do you
him.
make though overall of January 6th? I mean, it was watching that footage, it was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot like Antifa's
Yeah,
actions
it looked
to
a
me.
lot, except on a much smaller scale. It looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw, the
Every single
similarities
city
to
around
be.
the country, not just
Minneapolis
one.
burns. Kenosha
But so it's
burns.
okay
Waukesha
just because
burns.
one
Kenosha
side that you
got
disagree
burned.
with.
I'm
it's
saying
okay
Antifa
for-
No, if it's
infiltrated.
good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody
I don't
who
see it
harms
that way.
anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
But if you're
on
there
either
making your voice heard at the
Right.
people's house, no less.
Yeah.
That's again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen, and people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
Okay, that you guys get the idea. I'm glad that the focus group didn't just say what the camera people wanted to hear, what MSNBC was expecting to hear. I'm glad they spoke up, and yeah. Here we have National Park Services say too much whiteness in the parks seem existential
The American
crisis.
wilderness,
Like, what is going
playground
on,
for
you guys?
old and for young, and overwhelmingly white. The National Park Service says the persistent whiteness of its 419 parks is an existential crisis. The sweeping
Like, what is
vista-
that even supposed to mean? It's like they're just trying to divide us in any way possible. It's disgusting. Helpful guide for when you need to fact check their fact checks. Nobody said you wouldn't get COVID if you're vaccinated. Oh, really? Dr. Anthony Fauci said when people are vaccinated, they're not going to get infected. President Joe Biden said you're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. Rochelle Walensky says vaccinated people do not carry the virus and don't get sick. Rachel Maddow, MSNBC host, says Now we know the vaccines work well enough. The virus stops. Bill Gates, quote unquote expert, medical expert, he has no degree or anything like that, says everyone who takes the vaccine is reducing their transmission. Albert Bourla says the Pfizer CEO says there's no variant that escapes the protection of our vaccines. And my goodness, how wrong could these idiots be? It like they either are really stupid or they know exactly what they're doing. And I hate to say this, but I lean towards them knowing exactly what they're doing, but they have no shame in doing it because most people won't hold them accountable. So it doesn't matter, you know. The justice will never be served. So there's that. Whatever. Nothing to see here, folks. Just a $10,000 or 10,000% markup is totally normal. No gouging or grifting. They're the good guys. Remember, value led to the core. Someone please tell me how this is different from Martin Shkreli. Yeah, I agree. Pfizer plans to sell its COVID vaccine at a 10,000% markup in 2023. Like, why would you even get this? I'm sorry, unless you're like very, very old or very immunocompromised. Like, why would you buy this vaccine? They're making bank off of it, and the vaccines don't even work. It's like, what gives? I personally, I don't understand this, but I'll leave you guys with this clip. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Please share with your friends and family, because the algorithm definitely doesn't do us any service. But nonetheless, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, take care and invest wisely. I'll leave you with this clip. Pretty thought provoking.
Honestly, you guys, something's got to give. I don't understand what's happening in this reality anymore. A politician in New York released a sex tape on purpose. Chicago's pretty much starting their own purge next year. Canada's trying to take self-defense away from their citizens. Iran's nuclear programs are being hacked and exposed. Children are being exposed to adult content and adult spaces at completely inappropriate ages. What's worse are the adults rooting for this. Alex Jones has to pay nearly $1 billion for hurting people's feelings, and yet Fauci and the CDC don't have to pay anything for lying to everyone. In England, the police can come to your house and arrest you if you said something on social media that they don't like. Not to mention, they just had a prime minister that lasted about as long as a Kardashian marriage. The digital currency is coming, and soon we won't own anything. What are we doing? Like, really? How much worse does it have to get for us to stop holding up the system that's failing us? Honestly, you guys, something's got to give. I don't understand